Dear delegates, we are moving on to the next session on creative solutions to overcome legal hurdles for the differently abled. To lead the session, we have Dr. Rajeev Thomas, an international motivational speaker, management expert, leadership transformational coach, and advisor with over 25 years of experience in a wide spectrum of business, consulting, training, coaching engagements, and various life changing projects on social significance. Dr. Rajiv specializes in adapting and applying various popular management principles to overcome challenges that individuals face on an ongoing basis in the professional life, but also in their personal life. He is the founder and CEO of Warpus.com, founder of Hope Group of Educational Initiatives in India and overseas, and managing trustee of the Village of Hope Charitable and Educational Foundation. He was, until recently, the head of business planning at Qatar Foundation Education City in Doha, Qatar. He is also a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, one of the very few in India who has been trained on the diverse techniques and codes from the co-founders of NLP. He's an avid blogger, YouTuber, published author, holder of 2 Limca books of record entries, who believes in social change. With much delight, I invite Dr. Rajiv to take over the session. Sir, are you there?
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Welcome to our program.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. Actually,
it's our pleasure, sir. Thank you so much.
I was attending the previous session as well, and it's an amazing amount of information that has been shared. And I understand that, when a lot of people are dumping a lot of information onto the attendees, sometimes it can get a bit overwhelming. So this session that I'm going to handle at present will be slightly different. There's not too much of theoretical information coming in, but it's more or less information from the perspective of a parent and a person who tried to implement some of the facilities and the rehabilitative opportunities for the individuals with disabilities, and had to face a lot of challenges. But we were able to overcome most of it. I understand that some of our participants still have their mics on, so I would request those who are not speaking at present to kindly turn off your mic so that there is no interruption or disturbance in the background, so the others will not be disturbed as well. Okay, so my story is going to be, so I'm going to use a story technique for today's session, and I'm going to give you some information regarding the path of life that I have gone through, and I'm sure that most of you will be able to relate to it. So if you just give me 1 second to set up my screen over here, we'll start off right away. Right. Can everybody see my screen now? Can you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's clear.
Excellent. So it's a very interesting concept now, because the time from 11:15 to 12 o'clock is something when everybody is a bit hungry, and our mind starts focusing on the lunch break. And I'm trying to go and keep you as entertained as possible, so I can give you some meaningful information without making it too overwhelmingly challenging with a lot of theoretical information. So I would start off by saying thanks a lot for the organizers of today's program, Sneha Sadan College of Special Education, for inviting me to say a few words and share my experience on how sometimes creative solutions can actually help us to overcome some of the legal hurdles in implementing programs for the differently abled. And to have this program in collaboration with the Rehabilitation Council of India, it's an amazing opportunity to come and speak to over 225 wonderful attendees who are currently logged in at the moment. So my name is Rajeev Thomas, and the introduction often makes it a bit challenging again for somebody like me to speak, because the bar is set very high. There's a lot of things that I'm involved in, but I'm not going to be speaking about all that. But I would like to focus exclusively on one of the challenges that I encountered in my life, which I was able to utilize as an opportunity to create certain solutions for the differently abled children and the youth, not just in India, but also in other parts of the world. So I hope that this session will give you some practical tips on how you as practitioners and how you as special educators can actually influence change. And this is where the significance of all our learning comes in, because we can read a lot of theoretical stuff, we can read a lot of information on the legislations and on the principles and on the practices, but if we are unable to actually make that change which is going to touch the life of at least one of those children who are in your care, then we have lost everything. So this is where I would like to start the story with, and I would like to take you back into the year 1996, which is when, that's me on the screen, by the way. I looked a lot much younger and handsomer at that time, I guess. But next to me is my loving wife and my first son, my eldest son, Steven. He was born on the 27th of December, 1996. In Kerala, incidentally. I know a lot of you are from Kerala and some of you from other parts of India and elsewhere in the world as well. So he was born in what is now popularly known as the Pushpagiri Medical Center in Tiruvalla. And that's his famous bed number 35 that he was born on. And of course, having a child in the family is an amazing opportunity. And it's an opportunity to celebrate. And being the first son of a family, especially, being the first grandchild in my family and in my wife's family, obviously it was a moment of celebration and a lot of happiness. And Steven was born on 27th December 1996. And we were all extremely happy. And I saw the child in the hospital soon after he was born. And then I went back home because he was born kind of late in the night, early into the morning. And of course, I went back and slept and relaxed. And then the next day, when I visited the hospital, life was about to change, because it was not very happy moods that I saw in the hospital, because by then the doctors had come and seen the child, they had seen the mother, and after a few preliminary investigations, it was mentioned and indicated that Steven, my son, has Down syndrome. So as most of you know, Down syndrome is an intellectual challenge caused by the extra chromosome. And obviously, at that time, as young parents, I did not know anything about Down syndrome. I did not know anything about disabilities. I did not know anything about people with challenges. So I mean, it was something that suddenly hit me out of the blue. Yeah, my wife, of course, she came from a medical background, and she was more qualified and educated to understand what was actually the significance of the diagnosis given to us by the doctors, and how in the future Steven would definitely face certain challenges in life, and we as a family would need to be able to support him and back him up and to handle some of the issues that he would be encountering through life. So here comes a big challenge in front of very young parents and grandparents who absolutely also were lost because they didn't know what exactly to do. So it was a very dark moment for us. I mean, it is some. I mean, if I look back into my life and career, life has always been giving me new turns and twists here and there, and there is no meaning to why sometimes you end up with all the challenges, and why is it that God is always giving me these challenges? That kind of questions start coming up, and also the question about why do we have this child in our family and why not somebody else? And, then the parents, young parents normally go through a stage of denial, and they start worrying about, well, it can't be happening to us. Maybe the doctors are wrong. Maybe their diagnosis is not right. And maybe they made a mistake. And, then we start getting extremely religious at times and they start praying reverently, saying, oh God, please, 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 this is not going to happen to us. And let's make sure that this is not true. And when I go back to see them next day, I hope the doctors will come back and say, oh, we are sorry, we made a mistake. Everything is fine. We really hope that things would suddenly change. And but the harsh reality is that that's not the way that things are going to be. And sometimes we have to see how are we going to handle the situation from here onwards. Now, as most of you know, a couple of days ago, we had also celebrated the World Down Syndrome Day. Around the 21st of March is celebrated as the World Down Syndrome Day. And the theme for this year's celebrations in United Nations in Geneva was inclusion means. Okay, it's the hashtag inclusion means, which means it's all about how we can include these children with Down syndrome or other intellectually challenged children or any disabled children for that matter, differently abled, as our previous speaker was saying. So differently abled children in the field of education, how can we make sure that they have access to education? And inclusion in the field of health, how can we ensure that all the health facilities available to others are also available to these children? How can we include them, inclusion in the society, in the world around them, rather than excluding them out of all the activities? And we live in a very harsh society, and most of you would agree with me when I say that, even today, there is a lot of stigma around the differently abled children. There is a lot of stigma that says that, oh God, this kid is differently abled, and I don't want my children to play with him or her, for that matter. Or maybe we don't invite these children to functions that happen in our places. Some parents are still hesitant to take these children and go to public functions or programs. This is the world that we live in. So how are we going to make sure that these children have access to inclusion in the society around us? And of course, if most of the children are trained adequately and they go through vocational programs or whatever, your differently able child may eventually be ready for employment. So how do we include them in the educational and the employment framework so that they can actually have some kind of a meaningful employment opportunities? And as the earlier speaker was also saying, many of these children, especially the ones with the mild to moderate intellectual challenges, with manageable behavioral problems or some physical challenges, can actually be trained to live and go and work in environments that are conducive for the normal people. So how do we do it? So this is a challenge that is faced not only by the parents, but the society as a whole. And we are all part of that. I mean, we can, as a big team of people over here, 223 on the screen at present, who can actually make a change, who can actually make a difference in the life of the people. And sometimes we have to remember that whenever life gives us certain challenges, it also gives us certain opportunities. Okay, and I'm also a motivational speaker. I do a lot of programs, and I will be flashing some of my contacts in the last slide. So if you want to check out some of my YouTube channels or my podcasts and things like that, these are all themes that I normally learned from my experience with my interaction with Steven and with what life has given me. But what I learned, and I'm sure most of you will agree with me, is that when life gives you challenges, life will also give you opportunities. Okay, we have some participants still with their mics on. Maybe the admin can mute everybody else so that we don't have interruptions there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
you're doing it right.
We have opportunities that are given to us together with challenges as well. And in a few minutes from now, I will be explaining to you how we can come up with certain creative solutions to overcome some of these challenges that are thrown on us. Right. So what happened is, let me just progress this slide. There you are. So after every dark night, there will be a sunrise, right? How many of you do agree with me? I'm sure most of you agree with me. So there is, after every dark night, there will be a sunrise. So we need to remain optimistic. Okay, we need to remain optimistic that we can actually find solutions to some of the challenges that we're facing. So what did we do? I mean, as parents of Steven, now I was employed overseas at that time. I was working in Saudi Arabia, and my son, obviously, he needed therapy. He needed early intervention. He needed speech intervention. He needed occupational therapy. He needed physiotherapy, and he needs special education. But the nearest facility that was available to us was around 350 kilometers away. So there was no way that I could drive on a daily basis to take him down to that particular city of Jeddah, which is on the other side of Saudi Arabia, to give him the facility and the training that he needs. So what do we do? I mean, we have two options here, right? We can remain stuck in the situation. And this is what happens when life throws challenges on us. It could be problems in your families. It could be problems on your financial side. It could be problems in your job. It could be interpersonal relationships in your houses. It could be with your spouses. It could be with your children, wherever it is. When you have a problem, we can either remain stuck on that problem or start looking for solutions and opportunities. So we started looking for opportunities as well. I mean, we were never told. I mean, nobody was there to guide us at that time to say, okay, why don't you try this, or why don't you try that, or why don't we had to do a lot of learning on our own. I'm talking about 26 years ago. My son now is 25 years old, right? And so we are talking about 25 years ago, where we did not have access to internet and Google and Siri and Alexa and everybody else to tell you things that you really want to know at your whim and fancy, at your beck and call. But that's the time when you had to really wait for sometimes a brochure to come to you from some kind of an institution overseas, which when you don't have them locally, so you would look for them abroad. And maybe the postal system takes you around 10 to 15 days before something reaches you. So there is a lot of time gap. There's a lot of delays that are involved in getting even information, basic information. So we were really stuck over there, and then there is a way that the universe can actually build some kind of opportunities for you in the disguise of challenges. So the challenge that I faced was that we were having issues in the company that I was working in, where I was working for more than 7 years, and I was forced to move from there. So while I was having difficulties trying to get my son trained, I was having difficulties in the company. And then what happened is I started seeing an opportunity in a place called Qatar. And the Qatar at that time, state of Qatar, was just a very new country. People hadn't heard about it. They had a lot of gas reserves, but it did not become so popular as it is now because of the FIFA World Cup that is going to take place over there in a few months from now. And with all the infrastructural changes and all that have happened, it's a beautiful place to be in at present. But at that time, nobody had heard about it. I'm talking about 23 years ago. Okay, so when we researched this and we decided that we're going to move, I had got a job offer in Qatar, and I decided that we're going to move to Qatar. And I took my son and went over there. But when we went over there, once again, we found that the number of centers or number of facilities, unlike in India, where, in almost in every city, every town, you have special education facilities. You have either private-run facilities or government-run facilities or charitable organizations that are doing things, centers like Sneha, Sadan, so many are available. But, right. We still have interruptions. So, but at that time, we could not have many centers over there in Qatar also. And we were finding it difficult to send him to the government facility because there was a huge waiting list. And at the same time, the private facility that was being run over there was extremely expensive for us. So there was no way that I could afford to send my son to there. So what do we do at this moment? So we are stuck as parents, but then we started talking about what is the opportunities, or what can we do about it? And then all of a sudden we decided that we are going to start something. Okay, so we said we're going to start a center for the children with special needs, and we came up with an idea of a not-for-profit activity that could be initiated. And we started something called Hope Qatar. Okay, I will come back to this a little bit more about the challenges and the problems that we faced regarding Hope Qatar, because that's the entire theme of my presentation today. So what are the challenges that you may face, and what are the practical solutions that you can implement, the creative solutions that you can implement to overcome some of these challenges? Why I would like to say this is because you as practitioners, you as parents, you as professionals in this area may be in a position to guide the parents, guide the people who want to make these things happen in the future. Okay, so you will be able to learn from the experience that we went through. And that's why when I was discussing with the organizers of the session, I said, look, I'm not in a position to say too much about the legal side or anything, but I can tell you a case study of how we actually went through some of these problems and how did we overcome them, so that you can benchmark or you can copy some of the things that we did and implement it elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, what we want is to make sure that every child who has disabilities, every child who needs special education or therapeutic services should have access to it. And nothing should stop them from getting those accesses. Because if we don't give them those opportunities, nobody's going to give it to them. So we started Hope Qatar, which actually is an acronym standing for Help, Opportunity, Participation, and Education for the individuals with special needs. That's our website address in case somebody wants to take down notes and then or take a screenshot and then check them out later. Feel free to do that, so you will get more idea about what we do over there. I don't want to spend too much time on that over here. So in the year 2016, we started Hope Qatar. So it's actually 16 years since we started the center over there. Okay. And one thing we realize is that, and I'm sure most of you would agree with me, is that many of the centers or many of the organizations that are set up for the differently abled are being triggered or initiated by parents of such children. Okay, many of these centers are being started by parents of such children, even India also, and anywhere around the world also. So when somebody starts something like that, there is normally a connection. And when I actually interview a lot of people for Hope and for the other projects that I have initiated here in India, which I will be speaking about in a few minutes from now, I ask them this question also, do you have a relationship in your family that actually encouraged you to take up this field? So you may have speech therapists sitting on this program today who are going for the speech therapy program and who went in for that particular degree and for that study because there is a family relationship. It could be a sibling, it could be a cousin, it could be a parent, it could be a grandchild, or somebody in the close vicinity of you who may have a special needs. And that's what actually drives us to come forward and do something like this. You may have special educators over here who went into special education because of a family-related connection or something like that. So a lot of these centers today are being run by parents or siblings or well-wishers or neighbors or somebody who has a relationship with somebody who is a child or a youth with the disabilities. Okay, and this is exactly, I'm almost certain, I'm not having the opportunity to have a lot of interaction with the attendees today, but for want of time also. But at the same time, I'm sure that if I had asked this question, I would have seen a lot of yes sir coming up on the screen. So we started Hope Qatar in 2016. And then the next worry that comes into the mind of any parent like me is that what will happen to my child after I am gone? Right. So what is going to happen to my son after we are gone? One day we all have to leave, right? I mean, we are not here forever. None of us is here forever. But with the medical facilities available today, with adequate health care available today, with the life expectancy that is available today, many of these children and youngsters with disabilities may outlive their parents. And this is the harsh reality. Now, you may have a very mildly challenged child who might be able to manage. You train them, you put them in the right social network, you have a good support system, and things may be beautiful. Like our previous presenter was speaking, in the United States of America, they have social systems, they have legal systems, they have a very well-designed support system to take care of such children and such individuals, even beyond the time of their parents. You heard about how they have support people coming into their houses, even to feed them, to dress them, to put them in the buses, to give the adequate free time to the parents so that they can actually have another life just beyond just taking care of this child. But what is the system in our India? I mean, in a place like India, we don't have something like that yet. Maybe with in the future, it might come up. Maybe some of the voluntary organizations are trying for it, but are we in a position to provide such services to each and every child in our area? Just think about our own district or our own states. We don't have such systems. So the parents are left to fend for themselves. The parents are left to take, most probably it is the mothers of the house or the sister of the child or somebody within the family who takes on the responsibility to be with this child, with this kid, and see them grow, watch them develop. But to what extent? Not always to be completely 100% independent. Like take the case of my son, Steven. I mean, he's always going to be partially dependent on somebody, because he cannot take certain decisions on his own. He has certain physical challenges which cause balancing issues, which could make him, which could endanger him if he were to venture out on his own. So as parents, we want to have a system that will take care of him, even beyond us. So then this worry starts hitting you. Most parents, especially once they start getting beyond 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And now I know a case of parents in Malaysia who have a disabled child, and the parents of father is in his late 90s and the mother is in her late 80s and the child is in his late 30s, and the mother is suddenly gone paralyzed and the father has nobody to take care of, and they have one brother who has his own commitments elsewhere, so he's unfortunately unable to be physically present to take care of this particular child. So who's going to take care of him after something happens to his parents? So the same thought comes to us. So then we decided that we would also initiate something called the Village of Hope Foundation, which is a charitable trust, which we established to try to take care of children and youngsters with disabilities beyond the time of their parents. Now, this is at the very initial stages. We haven't been able to make much progress on it yet, but that's something else that came up out of a personal need. And then I realized that in a place like India, many of these youngsters with disabilities are physically active. They may have intellectual challenges there, but physically active. But what kind of opportunities are actually available for them for their physical development? Like, to go to a gymnasium or a health club or something like that. So I came up with this concept of accessibility, which is actually in a very early stages, which is all about creating a series of gymnasiums around the whole of the country to start with sensitized people, sensitized trainers who are aware of how to handle individuals with disabilities, not just physical challenges, but also intellectual challenges. And if you see in a place like US or UK and France and all those places, they have very well-defined, customized facilities for the differently abled. But we don't have any in India. They could go to a regular gym, I guess, if they are willing, if they are able to do it. But imagine the sensitivity around the whole concept. The people over there may or may not even want that person in their midst. They may or may not want to interact with them. So such challenges are very much a reality in front of us. So what is the option available to try to create something? And I'm working on a project called accessibility. And I also wanted to create another special school called Gurukulam, which I would not be talking about now. So these are some of the current projects that I'm having at hand. So to look at the case of Hope Qatar, the Center for Children with Special Needs in Doha, which is in the state of Qatar, we encountered certain challenges. So what are these challenges and how did we work around them? And that is the core of today's presentation for you. So first challenge that we would face over there was financial challenges. We simply don't have the money to set up something like that. Obviously, to establish a special education center, you require a minimum infrastructure. You require minimum staff. Okay. And there are certain legal requirements that you have to fulfill. And in a place like Qatar, the law is very different. Unlike in India, it's not very easy I mean, I'm not saying that the law in India is very easy either, but in Qatar it's a lot more difficult. So to create a center like this, you need something called a paid up capital. You cannot go and start an NGO over there. Okay, start an NGO is a whole lot of different review system. You need to have X number of Qatari citizens on your board, and there should be scrutiny and evaluation and assessment and so many things that make it so difficult, legally so cumbersome process that makes it so difficult for you to establish a non-governmental organization, an NGO. So what are the other options available for us? We could probably go and register something called a training center for children with special needs. And that's exactly the route that we took in the book. We decided that we will set up a training center. But once again, to set up a training center, there are certain legal requirements, there are financial requirements, there are commitments. And one of the requirements is that you must have a paid up capital of 200,000 Qatari riyals. Now, with today's exchange rate, you're talking about 20 rupees per Qatari riyal. So you're talking 20 times 200,000. That's a lot of money. And for an ordinary person like me, who's working in an ordinary company, I did not have that kind of money. So the need to start something is there, but the ability to start is not there. So this is a big gap. How am I going to overcome this gap? Similarly, we need staff. And when you say staff, you need qualified staff. And when you say qualified staff, it means money. And you have to pay them, right? Nobody works for free. Unlike in some places where, I'm sure there are volunteers working, but I'm not talking about volunteers working. I'm talking about qualified professional staff who can be approved by the relevant ministries so that they can actually provide these services. So this is one of the big challenges that hit us. And of course, we had no expertise. We had absolutely zero expertise in running any center for children with special needs or any training center or anything for that matter. So these are some of the real challenges that came and hit us. So as I said earlier, I'm not here to talk about the laws. I'm not talking about the legislations and the acts and the enactments and things like that. I'm just telling you that here's a set of laws that we need to follow. And they're not easy. And we don't have the ability to fulfill these requirements, but we have the need and the desire to start that center. So we had to actually come up with some kind of creative ways to do this. So we started thinking about it. And as I said earlier, whenever in life a problem comes to you, whenever in life a challenge comes to you, it will automatically come in a package with solutions as well. But what happens is very often we as individuals, we get stuck on the problem. We see the box from outside. That's the box of problems. But if you start unwrapping it bit by bit, paper by paper, take it apart, you will find that the answers to your problems are there within that box itself. And this is exactly what happened in the case of Hope as well. In conversation with like-minded people, and this is what I would recommend and suggest to each of the 215 participants that are signed in at the moment. Talk to people, communicate, collaborate, work together. Because when it comes to disabilities and when it comes to serving people with disabilities, we are not in competition with one another. Okay, and this happens even now in Doha, Qatar, where there are many centers at present, by the way, but because when we started it, there were none. We were one of the pioneers. In fact, we were the pioneers to start a center, a private, fully private center for children with special needs. But today there are many. And we go out and collaborate and communicate and network with all these centers because we believe, and I believe strongly, that when it comes to serving people with challenges, serving the individuals with disabilities and their families, we are not in competition with one another. We are in collaboration, right? We work together because at the end of the day, we have only one objective in mind, to bring out the best in that person with special needs, to bring out the best in that child who is under our care, to bring out the best irrespective of whether it's an educational intervention that you're doing or a speech intervention or occupational therapy or behavior therapy, physiotherapy, whatever it may be. Today's session needs to bring about a change in that child, which brings him or her better than what they were yesterday. And that's our objective. And to do that, we are not in competition with anybody. So we did this. We started talking to a lot of people, and we came up with beautiful, lovely, like-minded individuals who came up with great ideas, including people from the legal side, including people from the Indian Embassy, including volunteers. People came together, and we were able to start a volunteering program in a makeshift facility, which was given to us by a particular organization over there, where they would allow us to operate classes in their hall in the morning, and then we have to clear up everything in the afternoon and vacate, because they will be using that facility for something else in the afternoon. So we were able to set up a small place like that and to start the activity. So if we had been stuck by these legal requirements and the financial requirements and the infrastructure requirements and tried to solve all these things, we would never be in a position to start something. We would never be in a position to move forward. We'll never be in a position to actually make that change, that a baby step. I would call it a baby step. We will never be in a position to take that baby step forward. But in discussion with people, so many ideas will come, so many options will come in, so many alternatives will come in. And some of those alternatives will help you achieve your objectives and targets without going outside the framework of the legal requirements or whatever. And I say to all of you, if at all you're trying to do something, always remain within the law. Never break the law. Because if you break the law, sooner or later, the law will catch up with you. So always stay within the law, within the framework of the systems that are there, and then find a solution. So we started as a small voluntary center. And a few months later, we were actually covered by the local media. There was a lot of media discussions around what we were doing. And we were lucky that some corporate sponsors came forward, and they came forward and they sponsored a building for an entire year. And so we were able to actually move from our makeshift facility, a volunteering kind of facility, into a perfect building, which could be customized for the requirements of our children. And that's how, when you want to do something, the world, the nature, the world around you has a way of opening up doors for you. So keep moving forward. When you want to do something, keep moving forward. And this is how we started the first official center for Hope Qatar. And then it became bigger. The more children started coming in, more teachers started coming in. We started replacing the volunteers with professional teachers. Funds started coming in. Corporate support started coming in. We started charging a small fee so that the children can pay for it. And that way, from step by step, we grew. And today, after 16 years, we are one of the leading providers of special education in the state of Qatar. And we are approved by the Ministry of Education and so many other things that I will talk to you in a little while. So what I want to say is, there is something called the power of focus. We need to be able to focus on what we want to focus on. We can either focus on the obstacles that are thrown at us, or we can focus on the opportunities and the possibilities that are there beyond the obstacles. And this is not applicable only to this particular case of Hope Qatar, which I'm talking about. This applies to any problem that you have in life. Whatever challenges you may be facing in life today, personal challenges, interpersonal challenges, legal challenges, financial challenges, educational challenges, health-related challenges, whatever it may be, beyond those challenges, there are solutions. So you need to focus not just on the problems and get stuck over there, but you can actually look at all the opportunities around you, because we are also blessed today. We may have challenges, we may have problems, but life has given us so many things that we can be thankful for. And that things that we can count ourselves blessed by having all those opportunities for us. So we need to focus on not just the problems, but on the solutions. There will always be challenges, but challenges come with opportunities, as I say. And if you start thinking only about the problems, you will stay stuck in the problem. But if you start focusing on the opportunities, you will move forward. And then once you start focusing on what needs to be done, it's not enough to just keep talking about it. You have to take action. And if you see the slide, you will see that it says the power of your action. Why do I say the word your? Because it's up to us to take the action. We don't wait for others to do it for us. We did not wait for the case of Hope Qatar for somebody else to start a center. I could not pay for something like that. I was not financially strong enough to start a center for children with special needs. But there was a deep desire. My wife had a deep desire. My family had a desire. And then we realized there were so many hundreds of parents around us who had similar challenges. So what did we do? Just start taking those steps. Take action. Don't just procrastinate. Never procrastinate and stay stuck. Okay, you need to get unstuck. There will be challenges, but jump towards your opportunities. And then you need to start visualizing that these changes happened and believe that things will go fine. Never have doubt in your mind. It's okay, normal to have doubt, but don't get stuck on your doubts. Remember that if you really work hard, if you are committed to something, you can make that difference in the life of whatever you're trying to do. It could be a new project you're initiating. It could be a new center you want to start up. It could be a child that you're dealing with. Whatever it is, if you believe that you're putting in your full effort into that, only good will come out of it, right? And this is how we started taking action in the case of Hope as well. And what was the impact that we had? In a few years from then, we were able to graduate the first batch of students at Hope Qatar. And you'll find, in fact, that is my son Steven sitting right at the middle over there in the front. We completed a batch of students who completed their 10th grade exams through the open schooling system, 12th grade exams through the open schooling system. We were able to graduate the batches of students in diplomas in computer applications, other vocational training activities. And we actually conducted the first graduation ceremony. These children currently have sports days, they have annual days, they have science exhibitions, they go and do shopping activities. They do literally everything. I mean, we were able to open up a world of opportunities for the students that we have. Currently, we have 85 students over there. We started with 6. That was 16 years ago. And about a month ago, we shifted into a new facility which can accommodate up to 100 children. And that is what we are doing. This is the impact that Hope has actually had on Qatar and on the children who were given to us by God Almighty and the parents of the children who bestowed their trust and confidence in us. We got ISO certified recently, and we received Qatar Leadership Awards. We received a certification from the World Down Syndrome organization in the UK for our services to the differently abled persons in Qatar. So that was one of the recognitions that came in recently. We were awarded a special mention by the United Nations Special Rapporteur for Disabilities in Qatar. So, if you are committed to what you're doing, and we're not after any of these recognitions, I mean, that's secondary for us. What is important for us is the impact that we have on the children. So continue, and anybody can do it. If an ordinary person like me, who had absolutely, as I mentioned earlier, the challenges, I had no legal knowledge about things. We did not have any financial backing to do things like that. We did not have any experience in this area, but there was a deep desire and a willingness to do it, and the ability. And we were able to have the support system of like-minded people who did not stop us. Because today what happens in most of our life, and in fact, even in the challenges that we face, is every time we want to do something, people around us will start creating that element of doubt in us. Oh, what if you fail? And oh, what if it didn't go right? And what if that? And what if this? So all these what ifs come into our life, and then we start getting stuck. And then we don't move forward. So you need to break away from this. You need to throw away these what ifs around you and throw it away out of your mind and be focused, be stable, and be confident, and be committed to what you're doing. Because if somebody like an ordinary person like me or my wife could do this, just because of our personal need with Steven, and it's impacted hundreds and hundreds of children. And our programs, actually, we have hundreds of thousands of people attending the very other programs that we have. If you go to our website, you'll find a lot of information. I don't want to take away your valuable time talking about all those things. What I wanted to showcase to you is a case study. That if somebody wants to do something, and if there are legal challenges and obstacles available, you can actually work around them as well. And never let these obstacles be a burden or a hindrance to creating rehabilitative opportunities for the children and the youth who are given to you. Now, even for the latest initiatives that I spoke about, we have various obstacles. We have various obstacles, exactly the same obstacles. Financial, I don't have the money to do this. And legally, there are so many legal requirements which I am unable to fulfill yet. And especially in a place like India, there is another issue that actually comes up: corruption. It's very unfortunate. And we don't want to say it doesn't happen, because it happens. At every level, you can find corrupt people. And they stand in the way. Even if you have a genuine project that you want to implement, even if you want to have a great impact on what you want to do, and you have a clear action plan, you have everything that you need, somebody stands up and they expect something from you to make things happen. Even not just for new projects such as the ones that I'm talking about, even for existing projects. I interact with so many people I'm based out of Chennai now. In fact, I'm speaking to you from Chennai at present, where I am for the I'm based out of, and I keep traveling between Qatar and here. And in Chennai, even when I speak to people who have established various organizations for the disabled individuals, they always talk about challenges. I mean, if an inspector comes in and if you are not good to him, and you can say what good to him means, then he cannot automatically create obstacles for you. They could take away your certification. They could lock the place down. They could say you are maltreating or mistreating the inmates. So they could say you are misbehaving with the students. And what's there to protect you? So it's unfortunate situations that are there. There are hurdles, financial hurdles, legal hurdles, infrastructural hurdles, zero expertise. But what is keeping me going forward is that these two shall be overcome. If we could do it once, it will happen again. And today I am actually speaking to over 225 of you over here. And I'm sure many of you will have ideas. Many of you will have thoughts. Many of you will have something to contribute on. I'm not talking money. I'm talking ideas. I'm talking intellectual knowledge. I'm talking about contacts. I'm talking about ideas on how we can overcome some of these challenges and make these things happen. So at the end of this presentation, I'll be putting up my contact details there. If any of you are interested in these projects, a residential community for the intellectually challenged people, establishing gymnasiums around the country for people with disabilities, intellectual and physical. And we add to it the geriatric care also, elders. Today we have so many elders among us. After 70 years, 60 years, 70 years, they become physically weak. Their muscles are not used. And if you follow the principle of use it or lose it, if you don't use your muscles, you're going to lose it. And then you lose the capacity to bear weights. They're not physically mobile, so that they start getting pain in their shoulders and in their knees and in other parts of the body. So why don't we open up things like this for the elders as well? We create accessibility for everybody. It's nothing that stops us from doing it except our will and except our ability to think beyond the obstacles. And any of these projects, if any of you have ideas, feel free to come forward. I'll be very happy to talk to you on all of this. We also have a lot of vacancies and things like that. So opportunities for employment are there. We are talking about world class. If the United States, you just heard from that previous presenter, what the United States is doing for its intellectually challenged and disabled people. If they can do it over there, what is stopping us from doing it over here in India? We have a beautiful legislation for it. We have infrastructure, we have acts and enactments which you have attended over the last couple of days, and you will still be attending today and tomorrow, and you will be learning about all this legal things, all the financial things, all the benefits that are there, the social security systems that are over there. What is stopping us from making sure that these are world class? What is stopping us? We can't wait for the government to do everything for us. The public-private partnership is the need of the day. We can all contribute our efforts, our might, our knowledge, our interest, and make the world a better place for the intellectually challenged people. And this is the beautiful opportunity that all of you have given us. And your role over there, first of all, would be to create awareness to the parents on the legal issues that may face. And today and yesterday and tomorrow, you are going to understand in depth about the legal issues that can be encountered by the parents of children with special needs. Like one example, for a simple example, after the age of 18, the parent is not the legal guardian of the disabled child. Legally. The taluk officers and the government organizations who are there in that area are the legal guardians. So now it makes it essential for the parents to apply for legal guardianship to make sure that you can take certain decisions for your child, that you can manage their finances, that you can manage their properties. So you need to have a legal authorization from the government now, making you a legal guardian for your own child. How many parents know this? They encounter the challenges when they actually go and try to get something done. So you as therapists, you as special educators are interacting with parents. You're interacting with children. You're interacting with the local communities and societies around you. Make these things aware to them. It is not enough for you to attend these 3 days of programs and walk away with your RCA credits. It is for you to use this information and give it back to the society. Put it back out over there, because when knowledge is shared, it multiplies. It's not enough to take all this knowledge with us, because at the end of the day, one day we will all leave this world. So what did we do with the knowledge that we gained? Okay, you got your credits that you wanted, but is that the ultimate objective of attending a seminar like this? Is that the objective why Sneha Sadan is conducting something like this, just to give you credits? No, it's to make you empowered to make the change. Make each one of you empowered to be that change in the society that is needed today. Okay, so please create awareness to parents on legal issues they may face. It could be regarding legal guardianships. Please talk to them about the requirements for will and trust, because after their time, somebody has to manage this money. How do you make sure that, I mean, today I see parents saving for their disabled children, okay? Some of them haven't even thought about it, but some of them have started saving. How do you make sure that this money actually reaches that child and somebody else doesn't take it away? How do you guarantee that your child is going to be the beneficiary of all the things that you have created for them? So a need for a will or a trust might be one of the solutions. There may be others. I'm just giving a few examples here. I'm not giving the solutions. I'm giving a solution. Okay, so there's a difference between that. So there, some people may need to start thinking about financial planning for the special needs families. Many people have not thought about it. Many parents are not even aware about what financial planning is. You can help them with that. You as a special educators, you as therapists, you as organizations over here who are running centers or about to start centers or making an impact, interacting with them, just casually ask them, dear parent, have you ever thought about financial planning for your child? Have you set aside enough funds to protect them if something happened to you? Have you taken insurance policies to cover this child in case something happens to you? Simple questions, simple dialogue can make a change. Okay, so, and don't consider yourself to be small. Everybody has a role. God has given us all an opportunity. God has given you the chance to touch the life of at least one student. Go ahead and do it. Never give up on that opportunity that has been given to you. You can stay positive among all challenges. And you can be a beacon of hope for these parents also. Many of them are frustrated. Many of them are desperate. If you actually speak to them, you will find a lot of them are going through various challenges as well. You can be that beacon of hope for them. And as I mentioned earlier, collaborate and cooperate. If you have networks of people who are attending this program today, even if you came together, 250 of you, you are a huge resource. You're a huge resource for this country. You're a huge resource for this each and every child that is given to us. And there is no competition in this field. We are all collaborators. And I am open to collaborations. Any knowledge I have, any information I have, I'm willing to share with you. Just reach out to me, ask for whatever is needed. And from our own experience, as a parent, as a passionpreneur, okay, we became passionpreneurs following our passion and creating entrepreneurial opportunities out of our own personal need. And why shouldn't I share this information with you? And that is why when I was invited by this amazing organization, Sneha Sadan, to speak a few words to you, I said, this is an excellent opportunity to create an impact. Give some thoughts. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, that what we did was the best way to do it. It is one way to do things. Maybe this is one way that you can actually work out as well. Have determination and stay committed to the cause. You will face problems. You will face obstacles, but never give up. If you give up, you lose that opportunity. If you give up, that child who is going to benefit from you will never gain the benefit that they actually were supposed to get. So each one of us has a role to play, and each one of us is given an opportunity to collaborate and to make a difference. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I'd like to thank the organizers once again, and I'd like to thank the audience also for being patient with me and sitting through this discussion of what we had been going through. Please feel free to take a screenshot of this screen that you're seeing on your handheld devices or on your laptops, wherever you may be watching it, because there's a lot of contact information available over there. Feel free to reach out. I'm looking for people to collaborate with as well. I'm willing to share my ideas, work with organizations, work with individuals, anybody, because together we can make a difference. And that is the purpose of our life, to make that difference. The floor is open to you for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Delegates, you may ask your questions. The session is open for questions. You may also type your questions in the chat box if there are any. Sir, as you were talking about your journey to hope, you was you were talking about your whole journey and the hurdles you had to face and in establishing hope. So I would like to ask, what do you think starting such a center in India, do you think it requires more work, have more hurdles by law, and is more time consuming? Of course, you mentioned corruption. Apart from that.
Well, I personally, I've tried to read a lot about what is available and what is not available. And I believe that the legislations that we have are excellent. And the desire and the will of creating these things is great and excellent. I believe that the system is so overwhelmed by the simply by the large number of people who need these services. Okay, even if you were talking about the disability allowances, which are a legal entitlement for every disabled child, how many people actually know about it? How many parents actually, among the 250 attendees over here, how many parents of the children that you handle on a day-to-day basis are aware of this? And how many of them have actually followed through? And when I personally made sure that I wanted to have my son registered as a disabled individual in the framework within whatever system they have in India, I had to get him a disability card. And it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. You have to go through so many challenges to simply get a piece of paper that tells you that this child is having this kind of disabilities, this is his percentage, and etc., etc., etc. And then to get the national card, it takes you more than a year or two. Why? Why? We have an electronic system. We talk about technological changes. We talk about creating the change in India and build in India and so many campaigns that we are doing electronically. What is the difficulty in issuing that card in a single day? So obviously things can be improved. Okay, and same way, simply if you look at the amount of pension or the disability allowance that each of these children are entitled to, how long does it actually take for somebody to complete the application process to get that allowance? And how many offices do you have to go and knock personally to get that allowance? Why? It's a right, huh? Is there right? So if it's a right, why do you have to go begging for it? It should come to you automatically. The moment you get a disability card, we should have a system that links to whoever is handling this payment system. Your database is updated. Here is your bank details. And next month, it should automatically credit in your account. Why do I have to run around between taluk offices and that office and this office and get 100 signatures? And then to get the signatures, not everywhere is easy. Sometimes you have to give something to get something. And that's not right. So that is, I think, the implementation of these policies and the legislations is where the challenge is. And as I mentioned earlier, India has so many hundreds of thousands of disabled people of various levels. You're talking physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, multiple disabilities. So it is simply overwhelming the system. So if the government is allocating X crores of rupees for disability allowance, what actually filters down to each individual is peanuts. And is that sufficient to maintain a person in today's world with today's economic expenses and cost of living and things like that, to even have maybe a piece of bread every day? So these are the type of questions we have to ask. So why isn't it possible for us to create a larger fund, maybe, through public-private partnership? Let the corporates start pumping some money into it. They say, look, set aside 5% of your profits to support projects such as this. It can be done. maybe I think it's the will that needs to be created first. And the laws are amazing. The structure is there. The systems are there. And I have personally visited and seen some of the facilities that are there for treatment and the free treatment, the educational facilities. They're all good. They're beautiful and they're well managed. It's just that not everybody is getting it because of various reasons. I see.
So thank you, sir. So a webinar where we discussed about social security and legal aspects in disability rehab wouldn't have been complete without such a session where you clearly narrated the journey in establishing an institute, which indeed gives hope to many. Thank you so much, sir. You are an inspiring personality, and we are very happy to have heard you. Sending lots of love to Stevens and your family. Thanks for inspiring us with your story and what you do for the individuals with special needs and their families. Thank you so much, sir. Hope to see you again. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a nice day. And please feel free to connect. I look forward to hearing
Sure,
from
sir.
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Before you disconnect, sir, sorry, all the delegates, please switch on your video camera so that we shall pose for a photograph. Sir, it will take not more than 1 minute, sir.